Jesus himself has said, love one another as I have loved you. And the poorest of the poor have been created by the same loving hand of God. Therefore, they are our brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter what religion or nationality or color they are. My brother, my sister.
She was known simply as Mother Teresa. Her work among the poor and dying of Calcutta made her one of the most famous women of the 20th century. Her message was simple, and she was extraordinarily charismatic. The religious order she founded, the Missionaries of Charity, today has spread to over 120 countries on every continent, ministering to the poor and needy. But Mother Teresa was also a controversial figure. She hobnobbed among the rich and powerful, seeking money for the poor, and she became an international media celebrity. She was often criticized for not using her influence with both to attack the root causes of poverty. And she was a fierce and uncompromising opponent of abortion, all the while working on a continent struggling with the crushing problems of overpopulation. Who was this woman? How did she become an icon that transcends all boundaries? And how did the Catholic Church determine, only 5 years after her death, that she is worthy to be a saint?
Saints are not God. They're human beings. They have faults. They have difficulties and problems in life that, with the grace of God, they overcome as best they can.
Mother never told that I'm a Christian. Mother never baptized anybody. Mother served us. She was for peace.
She gave up herself for this work, and when I try to do similar, I feel how hard it is.
It's a nice way of thinking that she will be declared first blessed and then a saint, someone which you have known personally, you know. But actually for us, even when she was alive, she was a saint for us. You could feel this.
She was born Agnes Bojakshu in 1910 from Albanian parents in what used to be Yugoslavia. At age 18, she joined the Loreto Order and was assigned to their school in Calcutta. French author and filmmaker Dominique Lapierre chronicled her life in his film In the Name of God's Poor.
I visited with her many times the Loreto Convent of Calcutta. And you have to know that the Loreto Convent of Calcutta is a real oasis of plush living in the heart of this incredible urban disaster that Calcutta can be. And this is in that Loreto Convent of Calcutta that she arrived in 1930 to become a professor in geography. And her students, her pupils, were the daughters of the local rich society. Mother Teresa was there until one day when she told later, one day when she took a train to go to Darjeeling in the north of India, the foothills of the Himalayas, for a retreat. And suddenly she heard in the middle of the night a voice. The voice said to her, live, go away, abandon the existence that you have been leading for so many years in the midst of affluence, to go where the poor are. And yet, you know, beyond the walls of the Loreto Convent, there were the slums of Calcutta. And the poor were just over the wall. So finally, one day she abandoned her habit, her Loreto habit. She went to the bazaar and bought a piece of cloth, this white cloth with this blue border, and she started a new congregation with the permission of the Vatican, of course, and after some considerable red tape, she started a new congregation which was to be called the Missionaries of Charity. And the Missionaries of Charity's first instruction was to be where the poor are, at the service of the poor.
Father Christian Mignon was at the celebration which established the new order.
And I still remember how puzzled and surprised I was when we entered the courtyard, where I saw on my right a group of women cleaning up their utensils. We started climbing the staircase in front of us. I saw a boy naked coming down, and I remember that I thought, well, this is really a queer kind of convent.
Amar Bhattacharya, a Hindu, was captivated by Mother Teresa's life and work and made a film about her.
Mother was working with us in Calcutta for many years. Because before she became a celebrity, she was working with us. And what she was doing? She was trying to help the poor of the poorest. We don't bother whether she's a religious person or not. But she was serving to humanity. And that's wonderful.
My shock with her was to see her walking through some of those alleys of the worst slums of Calcutta. And these are really infrahuman places. Mother Teresa, there, the silhouette with this white cloth, white sari with blue, walking among these people. And suddenly, as she was walking, you could see a sort of illumination on the faces of all those people. And she would salute one, she would take a baby here. You suddenly understood that as she was passing there was a wave of hope.
Mother Teresa came to get the children today.
It wasn't long before her fame grew beyond the boundaries of Calcutta, and so did her influence. This tiny figure was a woman of action. In 1982, during the siege of Beirut, she convinced the Israeli army and Palestinian fighters to stop shooting to save 37 handicapped children trapped in a hospital near the front line.
The first peaceful evacuation of anyone from West Beirut.
Our experience was that whenever Mother was asked something big, it always came from her prayer. This is something which is the beautiful combination of a strong character that can also surrender to what God may want them to do.
The Canadian philanthropist Jean Vanier, founder of l'Arche, the international network of homes for the mentally handicapped, was a friend of Mother Teresa.
She's a peasant, and like many peasant people close to the earth, she's not up in the clouds. Her religion was not up in the clouds. Her religion was not an ideology. Her religion was centered on each person. And all her life was around compassion, and particularly compassion for those who are living a passion.
The fruit of prayer is faith. And if they believe, the fruit of faith is love. And if they really love, the fruit of love is service.
I didn't think Mother would go so fast. She went very fast. And she was dying. I kept thinking, Mother will come back, she'll come back, you know. And so it was very quick in the end. It was very sudden in the end, really. We did not expect it, no.
If I remember well, she died at 7 o'clock at night. And that very night, a whole crowd of people really invaded the convent. They had to call the police. Without the help of the police, they would not have been able to do anything in the days that followed.
The death of Mother Teresa in September 1997 brought about a tremendous outpouring of grief in India, although only 3% of its population is Catholic. Archbishop Henry de Sousa of Calcutta felt its force immediately.
There was a certain amount of request from people all over the world that we begin the process as early as possible, saying that she was a living saint, and therefore we should get her canonized at once. So within a few months, I wrote to the Congregation for the Causes of the Saints, asking for the permission to start the process.
It is not easy to convince the Pope that someone deserves to be recognized as a saint. It is a process that can stretch over centuries, but Mother Teresa's case was fast-tracked. Soon after her death, a Mother Teresa beatification office was set up in Calcutta and immediately began collecting evidence of her holiness. The chief investigator was the Bishop of Bairuipur, Salvador Lobo.
Pope himself gave a dispensation of waiting for 5 years after the death to open the case, first. And secondly, here in India, especially in Calcutta, I heard that again and again, that a person like Mother Teresa doesn't need a label from Catholic Church to call her a saint. She is a saint and she will be a saint. So that was one of the reasons why the process also had to be accelerated, so to say. But it did not take a shortcut.
Testimony from people who had known Mother Teresa began to pour in.
This was something unique in the history of the church, that we had Hindus, Muslims, Parsis, and people of all religions giving witness to a person like Mother Teresa on her holiness and on practice of her virtues. That was something beautiful, I found.
It is in Rome, at the Vatican, that all major decisions in the Catholic Church are made. The material from Calcutta was sent to the Rome office of the beatification team. Father Brian Kalodichuk, a Canadian missionary of charity, was chosen by the order to be Mother Teresa's advocate. It was his task to convince Vatican authorities that Mother Teresa is a saint.
In 2 years, we gathered the equivalent of roughly 80 volumes of material, which is what we have here.
Show us.
Okay.
So that's a few thousand pages there.
We had 113 oral witnesses. And that means we had a questionnaire, roughly 263 questions, covering, since it's an inquiry on life, virtues, and reputation of holiness. So the questionnaire also had to cover life, then how the different virtues, and then finally the reputation of holiness. Okay. So we have the first volume, what is called in Latin the Positio.
The final document, the Positio, is what he hoped would convince the Vatican authorities and ultimately the Pope. But testimony alone is not enough. Before the Church can declare someone blessed, it requires proof that a miracle has occurred at that person's intercession. It is not easy to prove a miracle. In Mother Teresa's case, this led to some controversy. The Congregation for the Causes of Saints recommends to the Pope who should be made a saint. Monsignor Robert Sarno, one of its members, explains why miracles are so important.
The miracle is regarded by the Church as divine confirmation that yes, indeed, the person is present in heaven with God, and what the Church is about to do can be done because the person is truly in heaven with God. So it's divine confirmation of what is a human judgment.
In Mother Teresa's case, there were a number of possible choices. Her supporters settled on this one, the sudden and mysterious recovery of Monica Besra, who was suffering from a chronic illness.
This lady had a long history of a swollen stomach, and she had to go for an operation. And she came to the hospice of Mother Teresa. It was the eve of the first death anniversary of Mother Teresa. And on that day, at night, they prayed, and the sister put some relic of Mother Teresa on her stomach and prayed over her. And when she woke up in the morning, there was nothing in the stomach. Now, they asked her, did you evacuate anything? Was any bleeding or was anything? She said, no, I just woke up and I'm all right. And that was the organic disappearance of a big chunk of matter which was in her stomach. And the intercession of Mother Teresa was clear, and the fact that it couldn't be explained by natural causes.
For Archbishop de Sousa, Monica Bezra's case was especially attractive.
I think it was a good choice because it was in India, it was in Bengal, and it was on somebody who was not a Catholic. And the doctors who examined that lady were also not Catholic. And in some way, it was a very credible miracle for us to use as a miracle.
But some doctors said this was not a miracle, that Monica Bezra's recovery could have been caused by the medication she was taking. Their views had to be taken into account.
In the case of the miracle, again, all proofs for and against the miracle, the supposed miracle, must be brought forward. We cannot have the impression that only the things in favor of canonization or in favor of the miracle are brought forward. That is completely false. As a matter of fact, legislation is very clear that any and all obstacles must be brought forward and must be studied and see whether they can be overcome. If they cannot be overcome, then the case is stopped.
Bishop Lobo had to vouch that the medical evidence fully supported the claim that a miracle had occurred.
I had interviewed as many as 18 doctors who had seen her and also who had seen the papers and documents and followed the case. And everything was just crystal clear. And therefore this controversy was more, I would say, fabricated controversy.
Just to be sure we're clear, what about these doctors in West Bengal who said it was not a miracle? What happened to them?
What happened to them? Well, they were invited, and we waited for months for them to give the chance. And then for their reasons, they didn't want to be involved in a church inquiry. And, but there was, from the evidence, from the documents, there's no doubt of the veracity of the miracle.
Not everyone in church is comfortable with the emphasis on miracles. Father Albert Huard was at one time Mother Teresa's chosen spiritual advisor.
The miracle for me is very secondary. The real thing is a miracle of grace, is a miracle of the work of God in a person, in the human person. That is the real thing. If the World Church were to remove the stipulation for miracle, I would not be disturbed in the least.
And some are troubled by the fact that so many miracles seem to involve apparently unexplainable medical phenomena. Jesuit Father Paolo Molinari, who has argued a number of cases for sainthood, has brought his concerns directly to Pope John Paul II.
Les miracles dans les cas des causes de canonisation et béatification, dans une bonne partie, sont des cas physiques, la majorité guérison. Si on pourrait présenter comme une confirmation le fait qu'un nombre considérable de jeunes hommes, jeunes filles, ont changé de vie à raison du fait qu'ils ont été influencés par l'exemple de celui-là. Une conversion, alors évidemment, cela porterait un message pastoral, spirituel, plus profond que celui d'une guérison. parce que j'ai toujours un petit peu l'hésitation lorsqu'il s'agit d'évaluer un miracle. Les gens facilement suivent ce qui est spectaculaire.
All the facts for and against Mother Teresa were examined, and the Congregation for the Causes of Saints submitted the case to the Pope, confident he would agree she deserves beatification now and eventually sainthood.
You have historians, theologians, canonists, medical doctors involved in various stages of the process, so that when the final results go to the Holy Father, they're that. They're the results of the studies of various groups of people. And then a final judgment is made by the Holy Father.
Mother Teresa is now described as blessed, but not yet a saint. However, she has fulfilled all the requirements for canonization, the final step to sainthood. There will be no other inquiry into her life, but the Church will need proof of a second miracle. But what is the difference between beatification and canonization?
The difference really is a very simple one. With beatification, the Holy Father permits liturgical honor in a local restricted area. So, for example, a blessed from Canada would be allowed to be honored liturgically in Canada only, whereas canonization is the act by which the Holy Father orders liturgical honor to be given to the saint throughout the universal Church. But you can see the difficulty with beatification and canonization in terms of the very case of Mother Teresa. How can you speak of local cult to a person who is known throughout the entire world, whose religious order, the Missionaries of Charity, are throughout the entire world?
On est dans un moment dans lequel, j'espère, l'Église, le Saint-Siège, le pape lui-même vont reconsidérer cette réduplication, je l'appelle réduplication pour ainsi dire, de voir peut-être la possibilité d'unifier les deux afin que si le Saint-Père arrive au moment dans lequel il est convaincu que cette personne peut être présentée au monde entier, qu'il y ait une unification entre béatification et canonisation.
We pick up people from the streets and they die with great dignity, human dignity, child of God. And because I believe that to die in peace with God is the greatest development of a human life.
Mother Teresa's philosophy and work were in many respects controversial. She was accused of accepting money from dubious sources and of appearing with dictators. She took care of the dying and the poorest of the poor, but many blamed her for not attacking the roots of misery and injustice. Her critics were widespread and vocal.
Many had written books, made some films against her, and also there were allegations that had come in the papers and magazines, even books. They had to be examined.
But she's not
Even Dominique Lapierre, one of her greatest admirers, felt compelled to challenge her.
This is true. This is one of the big arguments I often had with her about changing the roots of the situation that she was attending when she was taking care of all those poor. I always have dreamt that Mother Teresa would go to New York and start a hunger strike in front of the building of the United Nations to tell the chiefs of governments of the world, you cannot continue letting those injustices take place in the third world. You must change the situation, otherwise I'm going to die. And she always replied with a great humility, saying, you know, this is not my charisma. There are other people to do that. I am concerned with individuals.
Gaston Roberge, a Jesuit from St. Xavier's College in Calcutta, has been at times media advisor to Mother Teresa. He sees her influence differently.
Not only she did not do politics in the strict political sense, but in a more narrow sense, she did not accuse anybody. She did not throw a finger at anybody. She didn't have to. Her way and style of life was enough.
To destroy the life of the child is to destroy the presence of God in the world. The greatest destroyer of peace in the world today is abortion.
It was her uncompromising stand against abortion that drew the loudest protests, particularly in the developed countries of the West. In India, her views went against the government's official small family, happy family policy.
She was against abortion, which she considered as a murder. But you have to know at the same time that she was not against family planning. I have seen, and I've really taken part into sessions where our own missionaries were teaching women from the poor aspect of society how to limit the number of their children.
Contraceptive things, we are not interested in teaching them that, because that the media does that. We try to teach them the natural way, and they don't want to go the natural way.
Sister Margie is the director of the Missionaries of Charity's large orphanage in Calcutta. There, poor families come to abandon children they can't afford to raise.
80% of them come from unwed mothers. Mothers who are unmarried and cannot afford to keep their child because of social problems. Some of them have tried to do an abortion, and so when that has not succeeded, they've come to us for help. We keep them if they have nowhere to go and help them over the delivery time, and then ask them whether they want the child or they want to give up the child. Many of them give up the child. कौन जाएगा चिड़ियाखाना? Today there are so many couples who don't have children. So I believe that God sends children in the world so that there are couples also who don't have children who can adopt. So he adjusts. God sees that those children that come into the world can be looked after. But now we have so many applications, more applications than children, that there's a big shortage of children. And especially from Europe's side, the countries that we deal with, some of those couples are waiting for more than 3 years for a child. And they said, please, they beg, please give us a child. They said, we don't have that many children to give.
Most troubling for those promoting her cause were letters found after her death, which revealed that Mother Teresa had at times doubts about her faith. She even wrote in her personal journal, "I feel in my own soul that God does not want me, that He is not God, that He does not really exist."
We have in our archives the letters of Mother Teresa to Father Pekachir, spiritual director of Mother Teresa. And these reveal beautiful things, joyful things and so on, but real cries of distress, of being in the spiritual night, in complete darkness, with a tremendous hunger for God, but a hunger which is not satisfied, feeling pretty often abandoned by God, at times even wondering whether she's got the faith and so on.
She hid her doubts from everyone. Father Huard, then her spiritual advisor, explains how she carried on in such despair.
One thing she never lost, it is the conviction that her work and the work of the sisters was wanted by God. She never lost that conviction. But there is something she said which was very significant for me. She said this, Father, I realize that I give joy to people. And I realize that when I speak of God, and when I speak of Jesus, and when I speak of the love of Jesus for the poor, it goes through. The message goes through. I realize that, Father. But Father, inside it is all dark.
It was that strength to go on which in the end convinced the Vatican theologians that they were in the presence of a true saint.
She overcame her doubts with her faith in God. She overcame her doubts in hope, knowing that God would never abandon her to that darkness, that God would never leave her closed out and abandoned in that dark room of darkness and doubts. And that should be encouragement for us, knowing that the darkness of death would be overcome by the brightness, the light of resurrection.
This was the first home where Mother brought in the sick and dying destitute. And so we have named it Mother's First Love. And Mother loved this home very, very much because of the poor she touched and served here.
Sister Georgina oversees the care and activities at Nirmal Huidoi.
We are trying our best with the grace of God to do in a little way what we can do for them to save them. And all those who are brought in here are not all died. From these 51 years, we have picked up 77,500 and some people. Out of that, only about 35,000 and so have died. Rest have all become all right and gone back to their villages or back to their work. बाड़ी नहीं माँ ऐशो
हमारे बाड़ी जीला
अच्छा हमारे बाड़ी जीलो
I find the young people are terribly, terribly hungry for that. I see if you come to Home for the Dying, it's full. These are all young people who are working in the Home for the Dying. And they are whole day working. They are not going sightseeing and all that. They are there with the people.
Can I play with us? Yeah.
Nirmal Huidoi, the Home for the Dying, was the first institution Mother Teresa founded 51 years ago. Today it attracts hundreds of volunteers from all over the world. David Ramjatam is from Toronto.
It means for me to put aside everything that I actually hold value in North America, and it's very humbling for me to be here and to clean someone's ears or to take them to the toilet. It's like a new experience for me that I've never really experienced, something that I've never really experienced in Toronto. I feel that it's very useful because I've learned so much from the people that when I go back to Canada, when I see someone in the streets, I'd be able to understand them a bit more and hopefully be able to do something to help those people.
Andy Rimmer is from Germany. He has been helping at the Home for the Dying for over 14 years. Now he organizes the volunteers' work.
But everyone is welcome in this house, and people come from all over the world, spend a lot of money to come here. And nobody was rejected or sent away. Even I was not sent away. I had no medical training. I was good for nothing, actually, when I came first. But everyone is welcome, and we go through a learning process here in this house. You learn a lot by touching these people, by being with these people. These people down there are very good teachers. Sometimes the volunteers come and say, I would like to help here. Do you need me? I say, this is the wrong approach. Nobody is needed here, because if we are not here, someone else will do it, the sisters, the workers, but you need this, so you come please and you're welcome. And then changing. Mother said, whoever comes to this house, being it a volunteer, a visitor, or a patient, is living changed. People are here sometimes for 5 minutes only, but they leave the house changed. Something is touching their heart.
Why did I want to come in the first place? I don't know, I just wanted to experience it for myself. I've heard stories and I just wanted to see it for myself, that's all.
Esta posibilidad de voluntario, de ser voluntario aquí, ofrecía toda la flexibilidad que yo necesitaba en el tiempo y India en la mente, en el imaginario personal, es muy atractivo.
I suppose it's a very humbling experience, like, it's very rewarding as well. Like, I remember the first time I came, I thought I was going to give lots out here, but I actually ended up going home, like, receiving more than I was given anywhere. It's
like Mother said, to work here, we don't need very big qualification. What we need is heart to love and hands to serve. And that is really very true.
Sister Nirmala is now the missionary superior. Still, Mother Teresa's religious order has continued to grow at an astonishing pace. Sister Nirmala Maria is assistant to the order's superior general.
We were just looking at it at our recent chapter, how young girls come to us. And for us, it is something quite mysterious, because our life is very, very simple. We don't go recruiting any girls also. But somehow, when the young girls see the sisters in action, see them working, see them even in their own houses, washing the clothes, doing simple work like that, somehow they get touched inside. So it's not that we go recruiting, actually we don't do this at all, recruiting people. But it still seems God is attracting young girls to us. Still they want to serve the poor people.
L'ordre des missionnaires de la charité est le seul ordre religieux qui aujourd'hui refuse des vocations par manque de place. Dans toutes les autres congrégations, on se lamente. Dans toutes les autres congrégations, l'âge moyen est de 70 ans. Chez la mère Teresa, les gens se pressent pour venir du monde entier.
Many of our young sisters are coming from village side families, that would have very simple life, not poor and destitute families by any means. Many of them have had a certain amount of education.
She had challenged 20th century materialism.
Indian director Amar Bhattacharya made his film about Mother Teresa only after her death.
The most beloved woman.
When I started looking after her activities, the institutions, after she left us, I went to some institutions where I had not been. I've seen that Mother is not there, but the soul of the Mother within, with the missionaries. When she was there, of course, she used to guide everybody. But when she was not there, the same activity, same passion is flowing.
In Canada, even in rich Canada, there are people who need love and care.
By the end of her life, Mother Teresa was a celebrity in the Western developed world. She had received its highest honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. In the West, she encountered new types of material poverty, but also a spiritual poverty that needed attention.
If a person is naked, I give her clothes finished. If a person is in the street and homeless, I take him to my house and I have fulfilled immediately the need. But if a person is unwanted, unloved, thrown away of society, terribly lonely, terribly hurt, it takes a long time. And this is a very painful situation in the western side of the world.
The missionaries of charity are in many cities of the developed world, like Toronto and Montreal. Sister Samuel is one of the 4 sisters working in Hochelaga Maisonneuve, in the east end of Montreal.
What does it mean to be poor? To be poor, it means to lack something that is necessary for being. And we may be poor, we may be hungry, not only for food, but also for the Word of God. We can be thirsty, not only water, but thirsty to have our dignity, to be respected.
Their presence in the big cities is discreet. No big convents for them. They settle and work in lower-income neighborhoods among the people they serve.
One first activity is the day center, where we receive the people to eat 5 days a week.
Mère Teresa, mère de la joie.
Then we have a small shelter for the ladies in difficulties, and we also visit the families, the Chartines, also elderly people in their homes, and also we do visit also the prison.
Sister Roberta is in charge of the missionaries' work in Toronto's Parkdale area.
Now we're trying to do something for families. Like, a lot of families are having such a hard time bringing up their kids, and they don't know what to do. And the kids don't know what to do, so...
And chickens, eh? Yeah, we've got lots of chickens.
So we get people to talk to them, and we try to help them. Yeah, and we're using the space also for our teens for Bible study, so we can have activities with them.
Anybody want bigger? I'd like one, thank you. Okay. I have more.
And we also do a lot of visiting with refugees, families, and also families who are immigrants who found that it wasn't as great as they thought it was going to be, and they can't get a job. So we try to help them. We try to help them spiritually, and we try to help them also materially.
What you say, there are many people who choose not to forgive. They say, no, no, no. I heard about one lady who on her...
And everywhere they are in the world, as they work, they pass on the gospel message that was at the heart of their founder's life.
And I was praying for that man, and after a few days I met him on the street, and I could see he was sorry for what he did.
St. John always said, love one another, love one another. Mother says the same thing, but I think she wants to say to everybody that God loves them, that God wants them. That's what, and also that Jesus is in our neighbor.
As the mother of the eternal Son.
And she always also said that it's in our own families. We don't have to go to a third world country. We just, right where we live, right in our own homes.
Restless yearning seas.
God loves us, and that He wants us to love one another as He loves us. This is a very clear command. Only we forget. Even the first commandment of God also is clear. And also St. John says the same thing. How can you say that you love God and you don't see? If you don't love your neighbor whom you see, you are a liar. Very clear.
It is this complex woman that Pope John Paul II has declared blessed, and who one day will be a saint. A simple peasant, a conflicted soul, an international media superstar, and unquestionably, a figure who was and is an inspiration to many.
Basically, Indians are, as you know, very emotional, sentimental. And we worship people who serve the people here, people in need. So I think in Indian history, she'll be always a star.
Is the Church honoring who Mother Teresa was or what she became? Father Gaston Roberge is concerned about this.
What is the Church beatifying? The media icon. Mother Teresa was not defined by the icon, nor was she contained by the icon. She would, if I may say, pierce through the image to convey a message which was a radical reading of the gospel, which I think is finally what had such an impact on the people.
The Church's very decision to beatify her is causing concern in India. Here she is venerated by people from all religions. Some fear the Catholic Church might fan interreligious rivalries. Leo and Françoise Jallet, originally from France, have chosen to live among the poor in India.
She didn't need all that. We don't need all that to recognize her as a saint.
Mother Teresa helped them obtain Indian citizenship and remained close to them.
It can be a pity if she is considered only of the church. You know, if there is a kind of minority that she is our Holy Lady.
And I don't think it will in any way divide the Catholics from others or the Catholics, this is our saint. Because we all know that Mother belonged to the world. And part of her charism was that while remaining so attached to her own faith, she was able to reach out to people of all faiths. That's what I thought a very special charism she had.
Holiness is not the luxury of the few. It is a simple beauty for you and for me.
Mother Teresa used to say all human beings are called to sainthood, but many people who knew her recognize that she was special.
I never heard Mother once say an uncharitable word about anybody. For me, this was a tremendous sign of a saint.
Neither praise nor criticism touched her. She was what she was for God, and she radiated her joy. She was the ambassador of peace wherever she went, and she continued with that, irrespective of criticism or praise.
I wouldn't say that I thought I was in the presence of a saint, but I always felt that she saw things far beyond what I saw. And sometimes I would be looking at it from things from an administrative point of view, and she would be looking at it from another point of view. And at that moment I might not have agreed with her even. But later on I realized she was right and I was wrong.
Thank you.
Pope John Paul has now declared Mother Teresa to be among the community of the blessed, a group of people she truly belongs to, according to many witnesses of her life.
We are facing now and then the same problems that she was facing, and many times I call upon her to ask for a divine inspiration on what to do.
It was so good to be with her. Some people like that, you feel good. They are so transparent of God.
Mother told us very often that Mother will be able to help us more from heaven when she goes to heaven. And we can feel all that is what she has said is so much coming true, that she's still with us.
Father Christian Mignon was there 53 years ago when Mother Teresa founded the Missionaries of Charity. Like her, he has spent all his adult life in India. For him, what she achieved is truly unique.
The church is about to tell us
that Mother Teresa really deserves our veneration. But she will only ratify what the people of India spontaneously and immediately have declared. And for me, the fact that the non-Christian people of India were able to understand the real sanctity of Mother, that is the greatest miracle of her life.
And remember, the works of love are works of peace. Pray that you may understand the tender love of God for you and that you'll be able to share that love with others. God bless you all.